I'm Scott Kimball, and you're watching Bizarre Bizarre.
Welcome back to Bizarre Bazaar, and in this episode we're speaking to serial killer Scott Kimball. He murdered at least 4 people over a 2-year period. Investigators strongly suspect him in as many as 21 other unsolved killings. For the first year of the 2-year killing spree, he was an informant for the FBI, which paid him and protected him from facing justice over some of his fraud schemes. Almost none of the information he gave to the Bureau was of any use in prosecuting other crimes, and much of it was later proved to be false. The case greatly embarrassed the Bureau. The agent who oversaw him during this period was disciplined. He insisted he was not the only one responsible for enabling Kimball. Kimball was sexually abused in his teens, and it's reported that this is what led to a suicide attempt and a life of crime. He is a skilled forger who, while he ran a legitimate business buying and selling organic beef, primarily enriched himself by passing bad checks on the accounts of others and using forged documents. By 2003, he had faced criminal charges in 4 western states. These white-collar crimes also enabled his murders by allowing him to create evidence that his victims were still alive after he had killed them. He also used their checking accounts and credit cards to further his schemes after they were dead. 2 of Kimball's victims were people close to him. The daughter of the woman who became the 3rd of his 4 wives, Casey McLeod, who disappeared one day, and Kimball got away with this and lived with his wife for years to come. The next was his own uncle, who had come to stay with him, and supposedly he won the lottery and vanished. He never won the lottery. His second wife claims he twice kidnapped and essayed her. There was an open arrest warrant for him from the second. At the time, the FBI hired him as an informant. Members of Kimball's family and some investigators believe that a 2004 accident which severely injured his oldest son, 10-year-old Jason, to be actual attempted murder from Kimball himself. The boy was rushed to the hospital by Kimball. A heavy metal gate had fell on him. When Jason regained consciousness, he told staff that Scott had let the gate fall on him and was also thrown out of the car on the way to the hospital. It was later revealed that Scott had taken life insurance out on the family, and if Jason had died, Scott would have got $50,000. Another victim of Scott's was a woman called Jennifer Macrum, who was due to testify in court about a drugs ring, but Scott told the FBI of a contract that had been taken out on her life, and they agreed to help him in return for an early release from prison. Unfortunately, she still disappeared, and when her family contacted the FBI asking for information, they passed them on to Scott to help. Scott was going by the name of Joe Snitch, and told the parents he could show them exactly how she died, even perform it physically on them if they wished, and take them up into the mountains and show them where she was buried. The family were terrified. They believed that if they went up into the mountains with this Joe Snitch, they would never return. A few weeks later, in desperation, Jennifer's mother calls Joe Snitch to try and get help.
Hello?
Joe?
Hello?
Hello? Joe?
Yeah, this is Joe.
Yeah, it's Mary.
Hey, Mary, what's up?
I've been trying to get a hold of you. Oh, did you really know how my daughter died?
Listen,
Actually.
I already told you what I knew. I told you what I can and can't say, and I already told you what I was willing to show you. Now listen, we're not going down this road, okay?
I know.
I'm not doing it.
Okay, just talk to me, damn it.
You had your chance. Listen to me now.
I couldn't let you perform those things on me.
You know, you're really lucky I'm talking to you now, so.
The only thing that means a damn thing to me is my daughter. And I don't know where in the hell she ended up. Are you working for Jenny or against her?
I'm working for her, but you have to realize some things that I think are important that you know are classified, and I will be in huge trouble if I tell you. So I have to show you.
Well, I don't get it. What can you show me, Joe?
Listen, I gotta let you go.
I don't get it. What did you show me, Joe?
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Joe.
It later turned out that there was no contract on Jennifer's life, and it was totally fabricated by Scott, who ended up with an early release and payment for his lie. He went on to murder Jennifer himself. Insane. His final victim, Leanne Emery, was the girlfriend of his former cellmate, Stephen Holly, who was serving life in prison. Whilst they were in prison together, they hatched a plan to escape to Mexico, but Scott ended up being released. Later, Scott got in touch with Stephen and told him he would still help him get out, and that if Stephen gave him Leanne's address, they would both help Stephen escape to Mexico. Scott told Stephen he was now going by the name of Hannibal, and to tell his girlfriend to contact Hannibal and to trust him. Her car was later found abandoned in Utah. She was never seen again. Her emails later confirmed she had been travelling with a man named Hannibal. But this is the last thing we know. He was sentenced to a combined 70 years for the frauds and the murders after pleading guilty. While in state prison, he additionally pled guilty to a charge of attempted escape. Now that's a brief description of the crimes of Scott Kimball. I didn't want to deep dive because we're going to talk to the man himself about what happened. Kimball wants to do this interview if we can talk about the whole story. But I'm really intrigued to do this as he's willing to share everything from being a young child to serving life in prison. We're going to get first-hand knowledge and be able to ask questions with someone who is suspected of killing 21 people. Scott appears to be very intelligent and very reflective, so this is going to be interesting. Before we start, if you want to write to inmates like I do, then use the service I use. It's called Gmail, it's fast and it's secure, and it means you don't have to use your home address. That's the main reason why I like it. I get physical letters sent to my house, but I don't send the inmates my address. I'll leave a link to their services in the description below. Just go check out the website. Now we start this interview midway through a conversation. He's still trying to feel me out at this point.
Not a problem. I just want to make sure that that's not what you're doing, because I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
This call is from a federal prison.
I didn't get to federal prison or state prison or to court in one episode. You know, it took a lot of things, and my life was shaped by a lot of different people and had a lot of differences and a lot of different influences. You know, I'm only willing to talk about from where I started to where I'm at today. My story is about my voice and getting, my perspective in my childhood and my upbringing and my adulthood, and my life is really exciting in some people's eyes. I don't know if you know or not, but I led the U.S. Marshals and the Highway Patrol and several other law enforcement agencies on a 4.5-hour high-speed chase in the desert in Southern California with 3 aircraft trying to catch me. I've had all kinds of different things happen. I've barricaded myself into a home one time. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that led me to where I'm at, and it wasn't just one day I woke up and committed a homicide. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
My career path as a criminal started as me being a kid on a bicycle, committing crimes and growing up and being more brazen and more adventurous, and it's just, there's a lot to me, and it's just kind of like it can't be done, and I just want to be done right. I've waited all these years till I found somebody that I felt was honest and passionate about it, and so I just want to be sure it's done right, and I think that people will be intrigued. I think it's a story that I want to tell the right way, and I want to be sure it's told the right way.
100%, and you seem very reflective on what you've done, and I want to explore that with you and find out how you became who you are today.
Yeah, I understand that. You will probably be like everybody else. We might not have an answer to that. We'll just be like, I was just born that way.
See, I understand that, but for me, it's hard to believe. Like, for me, there must be some reason, and maybe we can talk through things and find out.
Yeah, it's strange being on that side of the fence. You know, I don't have like weird or strange sexual intentions or anything like that. You know, I'm just a normal heterosexual guy that don't have any sexual skeletons in my closet or anything like that. I don't. I'm just not like a weirdo. You know what I mean? Except I kill some people. So.
Do you see yourself as a serial killer?
I would say not in a traditional sense.
Can you elaborate a little further on that for me, or maybe later?
I think it would maybe be later.
Do you consider yourself a sociopath or a psychopath?
I think that would say I have psychopathic tendencies. I'm psychiatrist and psychologist over my lifespan, and they've all nobody has concluded that I'm a sociopath, and several of them said that I have psychopathic tendencies, but they do say that I have an antisocial personality, which I totally don't get, but they're the experts.
Do you consider yourself still to be dangerous?
I think everybody's dangerous if they're put in the right situation.
Do you feel remorse for any of your crimes?
Yes. Not in every situation, but some situations.
Okay, so early on in your life, you realise that being bad paid for you. And I'm just wondering, like, what certain incidents happened to make you believe this?
I just always felt that there were too many rules, and I always felt that if I didn't follow the rules, I had more fun, I had more opportunity, and the rules to me were always meant to be broken. I always thought the rules were stupid.
Okay, so what actual incidents did you do to break these rules?
When I was a young boy, the whole block, several blocks, were having a garage sale, and a lady came to my grandma's house, and I asked her if she wanted to buy some lemonade cookies, and she said, "Thank you, but I just had some." Another little boy across the way is selling lemonade cookies. So I got on my bike and I pedaled around the block, and I beat him up, and I smashed his lemonade stand and took all of his money. Told him that there was only going to be one lemonade stand in the neighborhood. He had to go.
And what is it that made you think that this was in any way a good way to react?
Well, I'd always watched a lot of TVs where the strong survived, and the kind of the westerns where this town's not big enough for both of us, and so I just felt like that wasn't big enough for both of us, and we were going to duke it out, and whoever prevailed was going to get to sell lemonade cookies.
Okay, so it does sound very much like the Wild West and survival of the fittest, and you're living like this even though you're just a kid.
Yeah, it's pretty much that still exists when you're in prison. Only the strong survive.
And this is something that's followed you right through your life.
Absolutely. I grew up as a kid watching Cowboys and Indians and Cops and Robbers and Lone Ranger, and I always rooted for the bad guy. And I don't know why, but I always wanted the bad guy to win. And that was just part of the way I felt. And I always felt like somebody had to be the bad guy. We can't all be good guys. If there weren't bad guys, there would be no good guys, because there'd be no reason to be good. So there's outlaws and there's not outlaws, and someone has to wear the black hat. And what I mean by that is we all can't be good. If we were all good, there'd be no reason for police. There'd be no reason for laws. And so somebody has to wear the black hat. Somebody has to be the bad guy. Without the bad guy, there is no good guy. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but growing up in America, it was a lot of cops and robbers. We played as kids, and we played, outlaw and bad guys, cowboys, and I always felt like someone has to be the bad guy. We can't all be good guys. Life would be too boring if we all believed in the same thing and we all, tried to be good all the time. You know, there's a saying. I grew up in the country, and I grew up in a western type cowboy atmosphere. And there's a saying, and it is, somebody's got to wear the black hat. And black hats are usually worn by the bad guys. You know, usually the white white cowboy hats are worn by the good guys, and you know, the upstanding citizens and the sheriff, or you know, the posse. And there was a saying that someone has to wear the black hat. And I said, at an early age, I'm going to be the guy that wears a black hat. I'm going to be the bad guy.
When I first started speaking to Scott, he sent me a big email with key points throughout his life. This was to help me form some questions. There are a few things not mentioned in the list, like what happened to his son. What's he got to say about that? And also the abuse Scott received as a child. But even just looking down this list, this is going to be a great insight into the mind of Scott Kimball, a serial killer. I hope you join me for the journey. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss part 2. Until next time, stay sane.